Hello everyone, my name is Sanjay Suresh and I am a student at University of New England taking microbiology course. And today in my video, I'd like to talk about vaccines and I'd like to talk about the durability and the action. So before I start off, this is my set of notes that I made. I really thought it would be really helpful for me to make these set of notes that will help me to understand the concepts and as I present. So the first part of my video, I'd like to talk about the durability of vaccines and why it's a critical issue in health. So basically, why the duration of vaccine is very critical is it produces long-term disease prevention. So as we age, our immunity quickly declines, and the individuals who have more higher duration, they can be more susceptible for infections. So this is also called waned immunity. So it literally causes the breakthrough of the infections. So another reason is the booster dose planning. So to understand the durability of the vaccines, it can really help us to plan when we want to have the booster doses and how often do we need it. For example, COVID-19, we had the outbreak. So we may require periodic booster doses to help us prevent from getting sick from the COVID-19. Also, we want to know about the public health impact. What kind of an impact will it have on the public health? Can we help control these outbreaks, etc. Now, the next part I'd like to talk about this key factor that influences the durability of these vaccines. So what are some of these key factors? The first is the vaccine type and the formulation. So when we talk about live attenuated vaccines, this is basically a weakened version of a pathogen which is induced in our body, and it prevents the disease formation. So this weakened pathogen, it mainly does not cause any disease. It replicates without causing disease. So that is one aspect. The second aspect is the strength and the quantity of the immune memory generated. Also, we have the pathogen classification and the mutated cells, and we also have the age and health impact of the recipient. So the more the age, the less the immunity. So coming back to all this, the most durable vaccine responses are mainly associated with generation of long-lived plasma cells, and also we have the robust memory B and T cell proliferation, which can persist for many years. So now, I'd like to compare and contrast the duration of immunity and what are the types of vaccines. So the one type of vaccine that we have is live attenuated vaccine, as I mentioned earlier. These contain weakened forms of pathogens which replicate to an extent. And this is mainly often years to life. So such examples is the measles, mumps, and rubella, and varicella. We also have the inactivated vaccines, which contain killed pathogens that cannot replicate. And these are more short-lived. And often we do require booster doses. So examples of this is the poliomyelitis and the hepatitis A. We also have the polysaccharide conjugate vaccines, which are well known for pneumococcal and meningococcal infections. And then we have the toxoid vaccines, which are used to inactivate bacterial toxins rather than the bacteria themselves. And for such examples are the diphtheria and the tetanus. So now, I'd like to talk more about the vaccines and how they produce lifelong immunity. So they mainly closely mimic natural infections. They generate a strong memory B and T cells. So these are cells that mainly generate, and they kind of recognize these bacteria, and then they help to fight them. So they are mainly activated, and once the infection reoccurs. And then we also have long-living plasma cells. So why do we need boosters? So when the memory is weaker and it declines, so immune memory is weakened and it declines. we want to protect the antibody level fall below a critical threshold. So we don't want the antibodies to fall too much that they won't be strong enough to fight the infection. Also, when the pathogen evolves rapidly, for example, we have different strains of COVID, different mutant strains. So we want to adjust, and we want to make sure that we have the booster doses which can fight this. And I'd also like to talk about the essential of lifelong immunity, which depends on the quantity of the immune memory which is created by the vaccine, and whether the memory remains effective against the pathogen for years. So I was reading one paper, the paper that I read about the vaccines. This was by Vasishta Kumar, and it mainly talks about the durability of the vaccines. So this paper does not identify the reliability which correlates to a long-lasting immunity. It just evaluates the antibody levels as an important correlate. So now, I'd like to talk about vaccine longevity and how, what are the strategies, vaccine longevity, and how it affects public health strategies. So mainly we need booster dose recommendations, we need vaccine schedules, and we need to maintain the herd immunity. Also, we want to prevent the outbreaks. So some examples of these are smallpox eradications, measles control, polio reduction, and COVID-19. So in addition to this, a complex policy and ethical question. When vaccine protection is limited in duration, this requires frequent boosters. And some arguments that support this is protection of the public health. So supporters argue that even if the immunity wanes, vaccines can still reduce the infections and the severity of the diseases, and they can reduce hospitalized effects. And we also have collective responsibilities. So public health policies often balance individual freedoms against the risk of infections. So what are some arguments against these? Well, one is, we could say, the burden of repeated doses. Nobody wants to get repeated doses. Nobody wants to get frequent booster doses again. And then there are also some public trust concerns. So frequency of vaccinations, not a lot of people question how effective these vaccines are. And also something very important is school participation. So, and this is very important because a lot of children, they are more prone to get sick, and where the disease is more contagious, and the children are meaningfully they're at risk. So this vaccination can reduce the transmission, and it can boost up the immune system of these children. Arguments against these are protection is very short-lived, and the children need frequent booster doses. And also when it comes to the public and traveling, we need to see the severity of the disease, the transmission risks, the effectiveness of the vaccines, and the duration of protections. So my approach is that the limited durability of the vaccine does not automatically rule out the mandates, and these vaccines should be made mandatory in all places, such as schools, public health for travelers, and they also have a significant impact on the reduction of transmission.